Bernie. Good luck with that. I didn't see it. Many of you saw it. CNN hosts the first socialist town hall where Bernie Sanders and AOC said the quiet parts out loud. They don't know what they want to end the shutdown. They couldn't provide a single viable solution for the mess that they themselves have gleefully created. And by the way, those are the real leaders of the Democrat Party. We all know it. AOC and Bernie. Good luck with that. And amid all that, Chuck Schumer is actually bragging that every day gets better for his party. As you know, that is his words, not ours. All this would be laughable if it didn't come at the cost of American families. I didn't see it. Many of you saw it.
So Speaker Johnson weighed in on the socialist town hall that happened last night. That was just an absolute buffoonery. It was a festival of buffoons, mainly the two ones, AOC and Bernie, up there screaming, ranting, raving, talking about everything that's spewing lies. It was just crazy. We got one clip from there, but this is all going on amidst the continuing government shutdown, which is hopefully bearing fruit. I haven't seen a lot of news reports on what Russ Vaught has been cutting, but we've got a little bit of news report on that. But I just want to shout out to everybody who has rolled up. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate everybody going on. CJM in the house. Fergie Code, happy Thursday. Absolutely. So we've got the government shutdown, which is dragging on. And at any rate, it looks like this thing might drag on for not just days more, but it could be weeks. The demon rats have become intractable in their demand for benefits and goodies for illegal criminal aliens. And they don't seem willing to back off that. They think this is going to help them. Meanwhile, their polls are sinking. The American people are fed up with them. Everybody knows this is the Schumer shutdown. And Donald Trump is once again making moves in the midst of all this that show the Democrats to be the absolute clown show that they are. It's just amazing. So I wanted to dive in. I've got one clip. I couldn't play too many clips from the Socialist Town Hall because it's just infuriating. And it just makes me want to scream to hear these two complete imbeciles actually open their mouth. But we've got one, which I think basically sums up the whole night in terms of what they were talking about and where they were going and how they were trying to frame all this. Then we've got Speaker Johnson essentially rebutting that with what the shutdown is really all about. And we're going to get into Russ Vaught and then Trump's masterstroke move, which I think just has the American public looking at this whole thing with clear eyes. So let's dive right in. Before we do, if you haven't already, please smash that like button for me. Hit the thumbs up. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Turn those notifications on. Even if you've already subscribed, YouTube loves to turn them off. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. Susan Brown in the house. Why haven't they been held accountable for their attack on McAllen, for their flight and the oligarch? Because the media is never going to hold them accountable. And until we can find something criminal that they've done, which I'm sure there's something out there. But we'll see what happens. But again, let's dive into this latest clip. CJM, are the Democrats lying again? Hey, if their lips are moving, they're lying. That's pretty much it. All right, here we go.
But are you saying that Senator Schumer should not be worried about a primary challenge from you?
I mean,
all right.
No.
Let me jump in on this one. This is
what we're talking about.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
This is what we're talking about.
You have a country that is falling apart. We had a housing crisis, a healthcare crisis, an education crisis, massive income and wealth inequality, a corrupt campaign finance system, and the media says, "Oh, you're going to run. What are you going to run for?" Nobody cares. So run more towards
nobody cares. It's the House Speaker and President Trump and
the millionaires and the billionaires. We got a housing crisis. We got a healthcare crisis. We got an income inequality crisis. The country is not falling apart from that perspective. The country is falling apart. If it's falling apart for any reason, it's being torn apart by leftist, radical, socialist violence by people on Bernie's side of the aisle who are very much Bernie supporters who want to tear this country limb from limb and destroy the Constitution and turn it into a communist tyranny. Notice he didn't say we have an illegal alien crisis. Notice he didn't say we have an illegal alien voting crisis. Notice he didn't say we have a crisis of insurrection as armed mobs obstruct federal agents in the discourse of their lawfully given duties. He didn't say any of that. Oh, no, no. It's all about the millionaires and the billionaires, of which Bernie is one. Bernie is a multi-millionaire. You don't want to tell you that, but he has gotten extremely wealthy being in Congress, insider trading, and doing all sorts of other criminal scams where he leached off the NGO USAID scam network. All right, let's keep going.
The vice president saying it.
Right.
Pardon?
Well, of course, they're saying it to deflect attention away from the real issue.
Exactly.
And here, let me tell you what the real issue is. Let's see if CNN talks about it. We're living in the richest country in the history of the world, right? All right, you tell me why we're the only nation not to guarantee health care to all people, the only nation not to guarantee paid family and medical leave, why we have a $7.25 an hour minimum wage, why we have 800,000 people sleeping out on the street, why we have a president who denies the reality of climate change, why we have oligarchs on top who have more and more power every day. Let's talk about that issue, not her own.
There's the issue. We have a president who denies the reality of climate change. No, there is no climate change. There is no man-made climate change. There never has been man-made climate change. It's an utter farce. And it's an utter farce in order to further redistribute wealth at the hands of government. He wants to control every aspect of your life, including every dollar that you, quote unquote, make, or in his case, in his mind, are given by the system. So therefore, the government can control it. We don't have guaranteed health care for everybody because as soon as you institute a right of service for one person, you institute an obligation of service for somebody else. That is called indentured servitude. It's called slavery. We have a market-driven economy. Healthcare, our healthcare is the envy of the world. Go to other places with socialized medicine and see how ugly it gets. With people not being able to get care, not for months, weeks, or months. Death lists. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to cost too much to keep alive, so we're not going to do it. Remember the little boy in England who the English National Health Service, NHS, would not even allow to be flown to America to receive free treatment. No, they were determined that he would perish on UK soil at the hands of the NHS bureaucrats. No, we do not have a healthcare crisis in America. We have problems with healthcare. No, absolutely no doubt. One of the biggest problems is Obamacare, is the ACA, and the fact that it has doubled and tripled prices for most people. The lie that you can keep your doctor and your plan. No, none of that was true. Everybody knew that was a lie. What they really want is single payer so they control your healthcare, so they can control who gets healthcare and who doesn't. They want to control who gets food and who doesn't. They want to redistribute everything. That's what the socialists and that's what the Democrats are now. They are unabashed socialists. So the shutdown is not about the issues that he just said. No, what the shutdown is really about, as we all know, is really healthcare for illegals and huge pork projects, huge amounts of pork nonsense. Check this out, because this was Speaker Johnson laying out the facts.
And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Western Balkans. They want to spend $2.9 million of your dollars for desert locust risk reduction in the Horn of Africa. And $2 million for, quote, organizing for feminist democratic principles in Africa. We are not doing that.
We are not doing that. Thank you, Speaker Johnson, because what that $5 billion in pork spending is, it's not actually spending on any of those issues. Realize what that is. That is them trying to reinstitute just a fraction of the USAID money laundering scheme that Democrats have been living off of for the last 40 years. That $5 billion that they want to reinstate for international projects will get laundered through multiple NGOs, each taking a little bit of a cut. And all that money will come back into Democrat coffers, into the DNC general fund, into the Democrat Congressional Committee, and into individual Democrat politician pockets. Because nobody donates to these fools. The reason that they have had so much money in the last elections is because they have been using your illegally laundered taxpayer money. And that's what they want. They want $5 billion to go back into DNC Democrat coffers. That's what they want. And as Speaker Johnson said, hell no, we're not doing that garbage. Now, while this goes on, while everyone is blaming the Schumer for the shutdown and Democrats for the shutdown, we've got Russ Vought, who is talking about what they are doing on the back end. And I've not seen a lot of this. We haven't seen a lot of news reports. And I don't know if that's because they have been intentional in their guise just to keep it under wraps. But they have been riffing people. They're going to continue to riff people, and they've been cutting wasteful government programs. I don't think they've done nearly enough. I'll say that, and then we'll talk about this after the fact. Here we go.
So are we talking 10 people? We talking 1,000 people? We talking 10,000 people?
We're definitely talking thousands of people. Much of the reporting has been based on kind of court snapshots, which they've articulated is in the 4,000 number of people. But that's just a snapshot, and I think it'll get much higher. And we're going to keep those riffs rolling throughout this shutdown because we think it's important to stay on offense for the American taxpayer and the American people in getting a government that, if there's an opportunity to have less bureaucracy, and think of Green New Deal programs at the Department of Energy, think the Minority Business Development Agency at Commerce that divvies up business grants on the basis of race, think environmental justice at EPA, think about CISA. CISA was an area that we riffed, which was participating in censorship of the American people. We want to be very aggressive where we can be in shuttering the bureaucracy, not just the funding, but the bureaucracy, that we now have an opportunity to do that. And that's where we're going to be looking for our opportunities.
So what we've got is Russ Vought talking about reducing the spending, reducing the bureaucracy, but I have not seen nearly enough of it. We don't need to fire 4,000 people. We don't need to fire 40,000 people. We need to fire 400,000 on up. 400,000 to 1 million. They should be riffing 6 figures, 7 figures worth of government bureaucrats right now and doing it en masse. You want to see the Democrats come back to the table? Riff 1 million people. You want to see the Democrats come back to the table and open the government? Do what Joni Ernst said and cut $2 trillion out of the budget today. Basically come out with a list of every single government program that is now cut as of today. $2 trillion. She said she's identified $2 trillion in spending that we could reduce. Realize if we fire 1 million people and take out $2 trillion in spending, we can reduce the federal expenditures, the federal budget, down to close to $3 trillion. If we're bringing in $5 trillion in tax revenue, that means we could pay off the national debt inside of about 13 to 15 years. That would mean all we have to do is, after President Trump, elect a 2-term Republican, and we could eliminate our national debt. That's what needs to happen. Now, while all this is going on, while you've got AOC and Bernie, the millionaires and the billionaires, having a socialist meltdown on CNN, while you've got the American people blaming generally the Democrats for the shutdown, you've got Trump in a masterstroke, paying our first responders and our military and our federal law enforcement from unused government funds and from donations from the outside. Check this out, because this is playing very well in middle America, and it's making the Democrats look absolutely foolish.
And Mr. President, just one last thank you from the men and women at the FBI. You found a way to get these individuals paid during a government shutdown, our 1811 agents. So on behalf of the FBI, it's a great debt that we owe you, sir. They're now allowed to pay for their families, so thank you.
And the military. Good.
That's right.
Thank you.
FBI and the military. I hope ICE is getting paid, but Trump has found unused research funds and other things that he can divert to actual payroll to keep those who are forced to work to actually get paid. so that they're not affected by this shutdown. And America sees it. America sees a president and a party that are looking out for average, everyday Americans. And they are getting what they voted for. They're getting mass deportations. They're getting crackdown on crime in cities. This is phenomenal. The Democrats are going to, this is their death spiral. I think they're literally going to self-immolate over this nonsense. It's crazy. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. So far, Gary Sieber, 37 trillion in debt. Yeah, so we would need 18 years, I guess, at two plus trillion a year. So close. Then all we need is Trump to basically go find a couple million actual immigrants who really, really want to be in America and are willing to pay $5 million for the golden visa, the gold card. And we happen to handle it quickly. But all right, we got another story that we get to guys. 2 more stories. Before we do, please smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notifications, let us know that you're here. Really appreciate everybody rolling up. But we have got more information. We've got Nancy Pelosi actually melting down, which brings the entire J6 scandal right back to the forefront. This is classic. This is classic Pelosi. I don't know if she was drunk or whatnot, which is quite possible. But you've got to check out this clip, and then we're going to dive into the rest of the J6 story. Here we go.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, boy. So there's Nancy Pelosi going on a screed, spouting the biggest lie, not the biggest lie, but one of the biggest lies of J6. Trump didn't send the National Guard. No. Trump offered the National Guard 3 days prior to January 6th, 4 days prior to, or 2 days prior, 1 day prior, on the day of, throughout the day, and it was not Donald Trump. And we're bringing the receipts here in the next couple of videos. Because Nancy Pelosi has drugged this up again with her stupid meltdown outburst, we are now going to dive back into the J6. We're going to look at the timeline, and we're going to look at Pelosi on video, self-owning her own responsibility and the fact that this was her creation from the get-go. The only question remains, was it complete and utter incompetence, or was it completely and totally planned? And that's the question that has to get to the bottom of. That's what the new J6 committee has to find out. And that's where indictments have to roll downhill. So let's check this out, because I want to dive into this first, and then we've got some of the proof, some of the video proof. But here's Chief Stephen Sund in his post talking about that day, talking about his requests for National Guard support. And we'll pull this up. Ma'am, let me refresh your memory. It was your sergeant at arms who repeatedly denied my multiple requests for National Guard assistance before and on January 6th. Even on January 6th, your sergeant at arms denied my urgent requests for over 70 minutes while he was running it up the chain for approval. Here are the continued requests for National Guard support from Chief Stephen Sund that were denied by Nancy Pelosi. January 3rd, January 6th at 1, January 6th again at 1, at 1:20, at 1:28, 1:34, 1:39, 1:45, 2:01, 2:08. Oh, finally, it gets approved. And how do we know that this is accurate? Well, again, Chief Stephen Sund is documenting this here. We've got 2 videos from Pelosi herself, and then we got the fact that Trump authorized the National Guard as early as January the 3rd. So check this out from Pelosi. This is absolutely just great stuff. And it's funny because they were so intent on framing Trump and framing MAGA that Pelosi had her, I believe it's her daughter, out filming this so they could create a documentary for the J6 Unselect Committee. And now all that footage can be used against Pelosi to basically debunk all of her fantastical delusions and lies about that day. Check this out, her writing as they flee the Capitol.
So what's the prospect? We're going to stay here all day, the rest of our lives, or what? We're here until what? Until the National Guard decides to come and get rid of these people? Oh my God, I can't believe the stupidity of this. And I take full responsibility.
I take full responsibility. Now, video 2, while she's walking the halls, again, being filmed by her daughter for this ridiculous quote unquote documentary, which is nothing more than a dramatization that they were going to play for the J6 Unselect Committee. So here we got Nancy Pelosi.
How many times did the members ask, are we prepared? Are we prepared? We're not. Prepared for the worst. We're calling the National Guard now. Should have been here to start out with.
They should have been here to start out with. Yes, they should have, Miss Pelosi, but they weren't. Why were they not there to begin with? Well, because of this reason right here. Because you denied them over and over and over and over again. The fact that the National Guard were not there is 100% your fault. And just to prove that Trump authorized them, the Oversight Committee has documented this so they can see that Trump actually, January 3rd, President says, hey, look at this. There's going to be a large number of protesters here on the 6th. Make sure you have sufficient National Guard or soldiers to make sure it's safe. POTUS, hey, I don't care if you use Guard or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do. Just make sure it's safe. Christopher Miller, acting Secretary of Defense. The president commented they were going to need 10,000 troops the following day. On January 6th, everyone was like, did you listen to the president's speech? I'm like, the guy speaks for like 10 minutes. So, Chief Sund, here's his documentation of his making repeated requests. Trump had already authorized the National Guard. The National Guard was authorized. The National Guard was approved by Trump. The only people who did not approve the National Guard, who needed to, were Nancy Pelosi and Muriel Bowser. January 6th falls squarely on Nancy Pelosi's shoulders. The only question remains, was that acting in those 2 videos where she said, why is the National Guard here? Was that acting in order to try to frame Trump? Or was she literally that incompetent that she doesn't know she denied it 8 times? I don't think it's incompetence. I think they planned this. You've got Nancy Pelosi on other videos salivating over the idea of a trespassing in the Capitol. They were looking for this. And don't forget the 2 pipe bombs. That story that suddenly disappeared. When people actually breached the Capitol, suddenly the pipe bomb story disappears. But now we know that there were 300 agents in the crowd, that there were agents, actual FBI agents, opening doors, shattering windows, that it was the FBI agents and informants and the BLM Antifa instigators that broke the windows, tore open the chains, got the doors open, and got people, instigated them into the Capitol. This was a Fedsurrection from day one, I believe. Nancy Pelosi is 100% in on the scam. Her claims of where the National Guard, those are performative. They're acting in order to try to frame Trump after the fact for not sending the Guard, not thinking that all of this is documented, that everybody knows she denied the Guard over and over again because they wanted this to happen. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really appreciate, again, everybody rolling up. CJM, you're right. Dems and Deep State cook J6. That's right. It is 100% in order to lend credence to this thing. That MAGA is bad. Now, we've got one more story that I want to get to, and that is the impending, I believe, indictment of John Bolton, and the fact that all this is linked to the giant conspiracy that was designed to take down Trump, all of the lawfare. That is that's been happening over the last 5 years now, 6 years. So check this out. I want you to see this because they actually had a Democrat consultant say the quiet part out loud on live TV with Scott Jennings, and Scott Jennings calls her out for it. This is absolutely classic. Way to go, Scott Jennings. Check this out.
One of Pete's longtime advisors, Liz Smith, seemed to let the cat out of the bag this week, telling CNN all those felony convictions against the president were not a real case, just part of a planned Democrat Party resistance.
Why the base is mad at some of the leaders in Washington is not because they're not left enough. It's because, Chuck Schumer came out with no strategy, no forewarning, and just said, we're going to fold on the CR. I mean, I think he could have done a better job of explaining what the strategy was and what we're going to do, but there wasn't anything like that. I think Democrats are learning, and I'm going to agree with you, that Democrats cannot only be the party of resistance. We cannot, we resisted so hard between 2017 and 2024. We impeached the guy, we prosecuted him, convicted him of 34 felony counts, and guess what? He still got elected. So I don't know how much harder we can resist right now.
Are you admitting that, that the case against Trump in New York was part of the organized Democratic Party resistance?
It was a Democratic prosecutor, and at the time, I said I thought it was unwise. I went on Fox News and said
There were Democrats who said this at the time.
There were a lot.
Just to be clear, everybody who now touts the 34 felonies, take it from Liz. This was not a real case. This was a plot to upend the presidential campaign, which backfired.
I just think it was a boneheaded move by Alvin Bragg.
Spinning, in some ways, the liberal lawfare never ended, with Comey still showing symptoms of Trump derangement syndrome. Here he is on Instagram, that 8647. And you can see Christine Holmes investigating, saying basically he called for the assassination of President Trump. DHS and Secret Service is all over this. Comey then deleted his entire...
So we've got Liz Collins basically saying the quiet part out loud, that the 34 felony account, what everybody knew, what everybody on our side knew, the ridiculous, Tish James civil case in New York, the 34 felony counts in New York, the RICO case in Georgia, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, all of the cases by Jack Smith, they were all part of the organized Democrat resistance. None of them were real. Lawfare was part of the plan to take Trump out so that he could not run, and if he ran, he could not win. This was all designed to give you Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, whichever one, in the White House. This was an organized effort, and now they're saying the quiet part out loud. Now, along with this, you also had a bunch of Trump insiders that were in on the deal. The deep state was in on the deal. People that were in the Trump administration, some by his choice, and others just because they were holdovers. People like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, and other people like John Bolton. And the reason we're bringing up John Bolton today is because we are waiting for a potential ruling from a grand jury. Check this out.
There is moving forward quickly to seek criminal charges against President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton. Joining us now with her exclusive reporting, MSNBC senior investigative correspondent Carol Lenig. James Comey, Letitia James, now John Bolton. Is this case different?
Yes, Katie, it is. Let me just give you the news first. Exclusively, we're reporting here on MSNBC that the effort to prosecute and bring criminal charges against Donald Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, is moving very quickly, to the point that some believe this inside the office, that these charges will come as early as next week. We are also hearing that the office is considering whether to go to a grand jury or actually do something a little bit different, which is to file the charges in a formal court complaint. That allows the office to move more quickly. And we are awaiting word right now about exactly when that might happen. You asked, is this different? If Bolton is criminally charged, who will be the third person on Donald Trump's sort of targeted list of enemies?
So you've got John Bolton. We all know that his house was raided, his office was raided. But where I want to get this was last week. They're expecting potential indictment this week, and this is why. Here's where we are today. Grand jury expected to indict ex-National Security Advisor John Bolton for transmitting classified documents. The grand jury was impaneled and actually started meeting yesterday. So they began meeting and reviewing evidence and testimony yesterday. And I want to dive in because Benny Johnson had a great piece on this. Check this out as he went over this article and other information. Here we go.
Okay, let's go ahead and read here, shall we? A federal grand jury convened on Wednesday afternoon to consider charges against former National Security Advisor John Bolton over his alleged sharing of highly sensitive classified material on a private server. Everything old is new again. Everything new is old again. And it circles round and round. Time is a flat circle. The proceeding comes 2 months after the FBI agents raided Bolton's suburban home in Maryland in Washington, D.C. to search for evidence. The Trump critics proposed theft of highly sensitive national security information, which he obviously did. He's John Bolton. Justice Department officials expected an indictment to be handed up early Wednesday or Thursday, that would be today, with one telling the Post that the case against the 76-year-old is airtight. Bolton is accused of using a private AOL email address to transmit classified information and record diary-like notes in his daily activities and assessments throughout the time as President Trump's first administration. The account was hacked by an unidentified foreign entity, at some point, according to the probable cause warrant unsealed last month, meaning that some of the secret information may have ended up in the hands of foreign governments or bad actors. The warrant redacted other information related to the hack. Investigators also found classified information during their raids, with agents confiscating documents related to weapons of mass destruction, U.S. mission to the United Nations, government strategic communication, and secret travel memos, according to court records. Even if Bolton had no intention of releasing the information, he could be held liable. The sensitive documents were left lying around where anyone could walk into his house and get it, a legal provision that applies his personal email account as well.
So you got John Bolton essentially dead to rights, having classified information he wasn't supposed to have after his term in office. He's certainly allowed to have it during his term in office, but once his term in office is over, he cannot be in possession of that classified information. He had it. He had it on unsecured servers. He had it in an unsecured home. He has it in an unsecured office. John Bolton looks like very much he's going to get indicted. I would expect that indictment to roll out today. I don't know. I would have actually expected it possibly early this morning, but we're still waiting. Now, that is just the next cog in the wheel of the indictments that needs to turn inexorably towards all of the guilty parties. And that needs to roll now from John Bolton over to the larger grand conspiracy that was instituted, implemented, and maintained by Obama, Clinton, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Page, Strzok, all the above. The spying on the Trump campaign, the spying on the Trump transition, the weaponization of government resources, and the invention of fraudulent intelligence assessments and dossiers in order to put it in, then leaking it to the media, in order to get into the media, in order to brief the president, in order to try to create a viable story, and then the entire Russia collusion hoax where they tried to derail a sitting president, and most importantly, conspiracy against rights of the American people who voted for said president. So this is going to get, I think, very ugly. But that grand conspiracy needs to get investigated. They need to make sure it's airtight. Then they need to roll it out. The plan, I think, is they're going to roll it out in Florida because that's where the raid took place. So that's their linchpin. And conspiracy, you don't have to prosecute a conspiracy in any particular jurisdiction. You can prosecute it in any jurisdiction that the conspiracy was potentially committed in. And so with the raid on Mar-a-Lago, I think they're going to take this conspiracy, they're going to impanel a grand jury in Florida, in a very conservative place in Florida. That's what needs to happen. Let me know what you think. CJM, he needs a room at Guantanamo Bay. Exactly, they all do. Let me know what you all think in the comments. Really appreciate everybody rolling up today. Thanks so much for being here on a Thursday. We will be actively looking and waiting for the John Bolton indictment. And if it happens, we will let you know. In the meantime, please smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Most importantly, share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. God is good and he is sovereign. all of this accountability will roll downhill. Make no mistake. Till I catch you next time, have a great day.